All right, today we are diving into a piece of tech that could completely change our world. We're talking about a battery that isn't just a little bit better. We're talking about a battery that might be the last one you ever need. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. What if the battery in your phone, your laptop, even your car was the one component you never, ever had to worry about again? This isn't some far-off science fiction. It's the actual promise of a brand new super hybrid technology. But before we can really jump into the future, we have to get a handle on the present. To really appreciate how much of a leap forward this is, let's just quickly run through all the little frustrations we all have with the batteries we use right now. Yeah, this list probably looks pretty familiar, right? The hours spent tethered to a wall, that sinking feeling when you see your phone's battery health ticking down, knowing you've only got a couple of years before you have to buy a whole new device. And that's not even mentioning the safety risks. We've all seen the fire stories. And just how heavy and bulky lithium-ion batteries really are. We've kind of just accepted all this as normal. So the idea here isn't to just make a small improvement, to make charging a little faster or the battery a little lighter. The goal is to create a complete replacement, a single technology that fixes every single one of those problems from the ground up. And that replacement has a name. It's the Liquefied Gas Electrolyte Core Cell, or LGE Core Cell for short. It's a super hybrid, which means it's kind of like taking the best part of a battery, its ability to store a lot of energy, and combining it with the best part of a supercapacitor, its ability to charge and discharge incredibly fast. And it's all built on two major breakthroughs. First up is the liquefied gas electrolyte. Now this is the secret sauce. For starters, it's non-flammable. So right off the bat, that risk of fire you get with lithium-ion batteries? Gone. But what's even crazier is that it creates a superhighway for ions to move, and that's the key that unlocks unbelievably fast charging. The second piece of the puzzle is what the electrodes are made of, modified biochar. This is a sustainable, carbon-based material, and the key here is that it is incredibly, incredibly lightweight. This is how you solve the weight problem, making these batteries just a fraction of the weight of what we use today. So when you put them side by side, it's night and day. You're moving from a flammable battery that relies on mined materials like cobalt to a non-flammable superhybrid built on sustainable carbon. And look at that efficiency jump, over 97.5%. That means less wasted energy, less heat every single time you charge it up. But this is the number that just changes the entire game. Over 1 million. That's how many charge cycles this thing can handle. To put that in perspective, the battery in your phone right now gets maybe 1,000 cycles before it's toast. This technology is designed to last for decades. It's basically permanent. Okay, so 1 million cycles is fantastic, but how does a technology that can power a tiny phone also power an entire city? Well, the answer is in its design, which is just brilliantly simple and modular. Is honestly like building with Legos. If you need more energy storage, a longer runtime, you just connect these cells side by side, in parallel. If you need more punch, more power, and higher voltage for something like an electric car, you just stack them end to end, in series. That's it. It's that simple. And that really is the whole philosophy in a nutshell. You have one fundamental building block that you can scale up or down to fit literally any need you can imagine, from the smallest gadgets in our pockets to the massive infrastructure that powers our world. So that's all the theory. But how does this actually translate to the real world? Let's take a look at what it would actually feel like to use this tech in the devices that we depend on every single day. For our phones and our laptops, the experience would be completely transformed. I mean, imagine charge times dropping from hours to just a few minutes, or even seconds. A battery that doesn't die, but actually outlives the device it's in. Think of how much electronic waste that would eliminate. And the weight difference is just staggering. A laptop battery could be 70% lighter. Our devices could get so much thinner and more portable. All right, now for the power punchline. This number, 1.8 megawatts per cubic meter, is the cell's power density. I know it's a technical spec, but it represents an almost unbelievable amount of power packed into a tiny, tiny space. So what does that number actually mean for you? It means this. It means having the power to charge your phone from completely dead to 100% in the time it takes you to tie your shoes. The only limit would literally be the charging cable and the port you're plugging it into. Now let's apply this to electric cars, because this is where it gets really interesting. This technology tackles the biggest complaints people have about EVs. Range anxiety? That's a thing of the past when you can refuel in just a few minutes, just like at a gas station. The battery lasts the entire life of the car, which gets rid of one of the biggest worries about resale value. And because the battery is so much lighter, the car itself becomes way more efficient, boosting its range even further. And for the really big stuff, like grid and home storage, think power for a whole solar farm or a battery for your house, the difference is just as huge. We're comparing about 5,000 cycles to over 1,000,000. That's the difference between a system that lasts for a few years and one that can last for decades of heavy daily use, storing up renewable energy. It even has a built-in generator that uses heat to power its own monitoring system, making it incredibly reliable. So, when you add all of this up, from our phones to our cars to our entire energy grid, you start to realize this isn't just a better battery. This is a technology that's positioned for a massive economic takeover. We're talking about a $1 trillion market. And that right there is the key takeaway. The LG Core Cell isn't designed to just compete with lithium-ion. It's designed to replace it. It's an entirely new platform that solves the fatal flaws of the old technology at its very core. And the scale of that replacement is just staggering. This isn't some niche product. As you can see here, the total market this could disrupt is over $1.6 trillion. And the biggest pieces of that pie are in stationary storage for renewables and the car industry, two of the fastest growing and most important sectors on the planet. This one technology is poised to transform all of them.
This quote from the source material really sums it all up perfectly. Because it fixes the core problems, safety, lifespan, and charging speed, the technology has a clear path to aggressively take over the biggest and most valuable energy markets in the world.
Which brings us to our final question. When you have a technology that's safer, lighter, lasts practically forever, and charges in minutes, it doesn't really seem like a question of if we're seeing the end of the lithium-ion era. It feels more like a question of when. What do you think?